Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's review, we take a look at the Super 7 Wave 2 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Leonardo, and Mutagen Man. Today I'll be reviewing these figures in the following categories: accessories, articulation, design, are they essential to your collection, functionality, and price. Once those scores are totaled, I'll give you my opinion if these two figures are a pass or a purchase. So for accessories, Mutagen Man is really lacking. Let's just start off with some of the smaller items. So you receive this fish. I'm not going to go through all of them. An Eden apple and a very small turtle. If I remember correctly, the original toy, these pieces here were meant to go inside the Mutagen Man as he had a water effect. Then you get the same pieces casted in yellow. You get this large weapon, which I believe is original to the original toy, which I still have. And this is done pretty good, really cast in yellow, and you have some gold detailing. And then only two hands. Where is the rest of the hands? Where are the mutagen puddles? Just pretty disappointed at what we get in terms of accessories, and I'm going to give the Mutagen Man a 4 out of 10. Well, when it comes to accessories, Leonardo is the complete opposite of Mutagen Man. You get plenty of accessories. So you receive this weapon rack, everything casted within is brown. Here you get the same weapons, however painted. And if I'm not mistaken, these items here came with Raphael. You get two large ninja stars, shuriken. You get this weapon as well, painted pretty well. You get two katanas. I like the handles on these. You receive a total of 4 pair of hands. I really like that the nails here are painted. You receive 2 turtle communicators, one that is open, the other is closed. A slice of pizza, of course, which looks pretty good. And you receive 2 head sculpts, which I'm always a fan of when you get additional head sculpts. And if you take a quick look at the one that comes on Leo, this side of the mouth is closed, this is a little bit open, just to give you a quick comparison of the two. So for overall accessories, I am pleased with what we get from Leo. I can't think of much to ask for with the exception of a mini turtle, maybe a canister of ooze. However, what we get here is plenty, and for accessories, I'll be giving Leo a 10 out of 10. So for articulation, you're not going to get a lot here. So this complete torso part, the head, all of this is one piece. You get absolutely no movement. So now let's go on to the arms. The arms do rotate a full 360. No upper bicep cut. Next point of rotation will be at the elbow. Moving down, the hand is on a hinge, so you can get it to go side to side, not up and down. The elbow is single jointed, bending in that much. And if you look, well, it straightens out a little bit more than I thought it did. But yeah, that's all the range that you get. And there's no difference with this arm, if you're wondering. So with the legs, they do kick apart that much. There is some rotation, but it's very weird. It's more of back and forward than an actual twist. Next point of rotation is at the knee. The knees are single jointed, bending in about that much. The foot is able, whoa, to go way down. I wasn't expecting that. It's able to come up that much. It is hindered by this piece here. You can get some pivot on the inside, some on the outside. And if you're wondering, no, there's no butterfly joints. So for articulation, this thing is pretty close to being a statue. So for overall articulation, I'm going to give this figure a 3 out of 10. Okay, so articulation for Leo, the head is able, wow, to only go up that much. It comes down some, not a lot. It is a bit loose. You do get rotation, you get some pivot, some shift back and forth. The arm is able to go up that much. It can rotate a full 360. You do have an upper bicep cut. You do have some rotation at the elbow. And again, rotation at the wrist, which is on a hinge. The arms they feel single jointed, bending in about that much. No movement in the torso whatsoever. For the legs, they kick out all the way. forward about that much. Backwards about that much, you do have rotation. The next point of rotation is at the knee. The foot is, hold on, foot is able to go down about that much, up that much. Good pivot in and outside. I'm trying to see if it turns. It does not turn. No butterfly joint if you're, well, no butterfly joint if you're wondering. Oh, almost forgot. The knees are single jointed, bending in about that much. So for articulation, this is very disappointing for a ninja-based character. We don't have any movement in the torso. The head is very limited with its range of mobility. The arm is pretty limited. The legs are pretty good with the exception of the bent knee. So for overall articulation, I'm giving Leonardo a 4 out of 10. So for design, I had my original 1980-something Mutagen man. I made the miscalculation in giving this to my son, and this is what's left. So to start with the design, for what we compare to what we can compare, you can see that the flesh tone is probably the same color. The purple appears to be a little bit darker here. And I'm just looking at this black hair. This is something that my son literally just did. This wasn't here a few minutes ago. And if you look in certain areas, you can see where there has been improvements. Here you see the two, let's just call them pins, as well as hair. And you can see that they're done with a metallic finish. So we're going to put that aside. And all of the paint apps are very clean. Well, let's slow down for a minute. I do see some gray poking through here. And we'll see as we continue to go up. And you get some more metallic paint that's done in certain areas, such as here, and a few other places on the figure. I really wish that I had the full, complete original one so I can really do a proper comparison. But you see the back, bright yellow. You can see touches of gold. So this is an overall improvement over the original one. There's no question about that. So for overall design, I'm going to give Mutagen Man a 9 out of 10. So moving on to Leo, fortunately my son did not destroy this one. So we could do a full comparison. And if you look at the head sculpt, essentially it is the same design, right? You see the open mouth here. Here, however, you have some green in between, and this is solid white throughout, which I don't necessarily mind. The shade of blue is a bit different. It is pretty close. This one seems more vibrant. This one seems more matte. And if you look at the greens are pretty close. Though I would say that this one here has either more sheen or gloss to it. This is certainly more of a matte finish. And even though I don't have the belt did not look like this. So I'm going to put this one down for a moment and say that this is the one thing that I don't like. I don't like the silver that's done to this belt. Not sure why Super 7 decided to do that, but for me, it throws the figure off, and it's something that I actually wish that they did not do. So turning this to the back, I do like how the straps look. I like the silver buttons here, which just adds some detail to what would essentially be just soft plastic, soft black plastic. And here, it's just not a lot of paint. It's casted in green. You have the blue and white. And of course, you have the different colors in the shell. And just looking at this, like you see that the knee pads and elbow pads, wristbands or so, they're all in place where they need to be. So Super 7 really did a good job of capturing the likeness of these original figures and transforming it into something modern. So for overall design, I'm going to give Leo an 8 out of 10. So as far as being essential to your collection, I vaguely remember Mutagen Man. I think that he was only in one episode of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon. I know in the 2012 version, he was more of a prominent character. So going back to the original, he wasn't a character that was often shown. He did, however, have a full episode titled to him. So as far as being essential to your collection, I'm going to give Mutagen Man a 3 out of 10. So as far as being essential to your collection, it really gets no more essential than the Turtles. The one thing that you have to consider, though, is that there are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures that are available. NECA has several releases of the Turtles in cartoon form. SH Figuarts has the Turtles. And you have several variations of Playmates making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So while the character is a 10, we have to consider that there are options if you decide not to pick this one up. So I just took a quick look. You're able to grab the SH Figuarts Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for about $50 each. The Necker cartoon versions of the turtles are pretty expensive. However, they do have a 4 box set that's coming out soon. And while this figure is currently sold out, I think Super 7 is going to do with the Turtles what they did with Thundercats and re-release the more popular figures. You can't have a line without continually to introduce Turtles for collectors who weren't able to grab them. So given the amount of offerings that we have overall for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures, I'm going to give Leo a 7 for being essential to your collection. So for functionality, where to start with this guy? You know where we'll start? Right up top. We'll start here, as this part comes off. So if you see this separating, my son actually did that. I may just glue this back in place. So with the original toy, they had a gimmick to where you were able to put water in here. It came with several small effect pieces such as this that you would insert within said hole, and then you'll add water and those would float around. You can add these pieces here. I wouldn't advise that you do it. The reason being, you do not want to add water to this. Why you don't want to add water to this? Because it will leak. So I really don't understand why Super 7 wasn't able to make this watertight. This entire torso is one piece. So for me, it's just mind-boggling to why that could not be done. Like, I really don't get that. So you sort of lose this gimmick. It doesn't make sense for these pieces to be in here without the water effect. And if you do add water, just because you want to try it out or take quick pictures, I'm going to warn you now, you're going to get water deposits and you're going to have to use some sort of heat in order to dry that out. So take my word for it, do not put water inside of this. Aside from that, you have a very limited figure. If you weren't going to put water in here, I feel that this should have been sort of a floating A and B portion. And yes, there are ways to where it could have been done, but it's not. So you get a complete torso that you can't do anything with. Moving on to the arms, they are very limited. Some reasons the band that's here is done in a very hard plastic. So here you have 2 hard pieces rubbing against one another. So this is where it stops. Not sure why this wasn't done in a softer material. This way you can get way more range. And just moving down to the knees themselves, very limiting, barely bending at all. I mentioned this earlier, but this figure is nearly a statue, excuse me. So you do get one weapon, which fits in the hand. Hands are pretty tight, but he holds that weapon well. You can see that he stands perfectly fine on his own. And in order to swap out the hands, quick pull, that came off a lot easier than I thought. And how hands should be, you have the pegs on the hands themselves. You port that in, and there you go. So one thing that I want to show with the original toy, the leg would just swivel front to back. So with this one, you actually get way more range, even though it is still very limited. So that is an improvement. So for functionality, it is better than the original, but it is lacking. So for functionality, I'm going to give Mutagen Man a 3 out of 10. So for Leo, we're going to be here for a while as we have quite a few accessories. So a good place to start would be with his katanas. Let's just slide him in the back, like so. Fit well enough. My only issue is that these blades are way too long. I don't remember the original being anywhere this close. These blades are literally at his calf. So removing them, let's just place him in his hands very quickly. Very happy that the hands are already here. Okay, so the hands were very stiff. It was pretty difficult to get the blades in. I had to part the hands like this and force the blades inside. But here he holds them okay, as tight as it was to get in. I would think that it would be a much tighter grip. It's not what I would call loose. It's just not as tight as I thought it would be. So moving on to the next accessory. Just want to see if one of the other hands may be better equipped to holding it. With that, I could not force the katana through this way. Here, it appears that it's more open. So maybe, maybe not. Okay, so this actually holds this very tight to where it should be, and perhaps this is the proper hand for holding those blades as well, right? And you get 2 of them, so that could be the case. So let's move to some of the other accessories. So with the other open hands, I have Leo holding these 2 items. And with these open hands, he should be able to hold the pizza. Not as great as I would like. Let me work on that. That's about as good as you're going to get, or something similar to That's about as good as you're going to get. Now with the Communicator, let's see how that works. The Communicator works a lot better with these hands. It's actually tight and secure. That's not going anywhere. Trying the closed one. So he doesn't hold this one quite as well. It is very loose, but you can get him to hold it. And moving on to the last set of hands, which will be the fisted. So here you just pull. The pegs on these hands are extremely thin. I didn't like how it felt when I pulled it off. You can see the pegs here, so be careful with these. Wrong hands. Fisted, here they are. Fisted hands. Unfortunately, the hands are on a peg, which moves side to side instead of up and down. And as you can see, Leo passes the stand test. Almost forgot about the secondary head. This head is pretty loose. I don't like how loose this is. The legs, let me not say loose, not as tight as I would want them to be. He is tighter, however, than the Raphael, which came in Wave 1. Whoa, it's not all the way on. And I think this head is actually my favorite out of the two, so I'll probably be leaving this one on. So some of the things that I'm not particularly fond of is the lack of range with this particular figure. The arms are limited, going out about that much. Most people who make turtles, I don't know, seems to give this singular turtle piece, which I'm not a fan of. I don't necessarily hate it, but I think if they're going to use this part of the torso should be a very soft material, perhaps silicone, so that you can still get some range of movement. Here, there's no range. Also with the legs, very limited. That's all that they bend in. So just not a lot of mobility for a ninja. Almost forgot about one accessory. So the Ninja Star, Throwing Star. This hand has a slit in between the fingers. So you just slide this in like so, and that holds it very well. So for functionality, Super 7 did a good job providing hands that fit most of the accessories. The only two that you're going to have a hard time having Leo hold would be the pizza and the closed Communicator. What would have been a cool update would have been extra places to store some of the additional weapons that we have, but there isn't. So for functionality, I feel that I'm being gracious here, and I'm going to give Leo a 6 out of 10. So for pricing, this figure comes in, I believe it's $45. That's before taxes, that's before shipping. I had combined shipping, so let's just say with taxes, this figure came to $49. So is he worth the price of admission? So let's see what he comes with. In terms of accessories, really not much. You get an extra pair of hand and one weapon. You do get some pieces that you can't even use properly because this figure doesn't hold water. Which brings me to my first complaint about this figure is that, in part, it's not as good as the original. That whole water concept, it may seem simple, but for anyone that had the original toy and purchased this one based off that feature or gimmick, and now not to be able to do it is really a letdown. Really, one of the draws for this figure has to be the size of it. So when it comes to pricing, there are two things that I'm really looking at. One, how much plastic, paint, scope work are we receiving? Two, comparing it to something that's comparable, such as a NECA figure. Looking at the size, the paint, the scope, I feel like $45 is a decent price for this figure. Looking at NECA, that you sometimes get two figures for nearly that price, that makes me have to knock the score down just a little bit. So for pricing, I'm going to give this figure an 8 out of 10. So now, is this figure a pass or a purchase? For me, this was nostalgia heavy, and I think anyone or most people who are purchasing this figure is based on something that they had as a kid or something that they wanted as a kid, didn't get a chance to get, or that completionist. If none of those things are you, I'm going to have to say that this figure is a pass. So for pricing, Leo comes in at about $45. You add in taxes, shipping. Let's just round that off to $49. So is Leo worth the price of admission? Well, let's see what he comes with. In terms of accessories, you receive a whole lot. Are there some things that I could ask for? Sure, an entire pizza pie, a mini turtle a mini turtle, some mutagen, but we get enough for the price. So when it comes to pricing for this figure, again, I'm looking at some things that are comparable. I'm looking at NECA, which you can get 2 turtles around this price point. I'm also looking at the SH Fig Arts turtles, which I think were about $60 per turtle. So for this $45 price point, this would be a 10 for me. However, I do have to consider NECA, so I'm going to drop it down to a few points. And for price, I'm going to give Leo an 8 out of 10. So now, is Leo a pass or a purchase? Unlike the Mutagen Man, I feel that this figure selling to collectors is not just based on nostalgia. There are just going to be some turtle collectors who want another turtle in their lineup, or some people who just feel that this is a cool version of the turtles. This is clearly a more desirable figure than Mutagen Man. So that should give Mutagen Man an overall cliff score of, and that should give Leo an overall cliff score of. So for some comparisons, let's move Leo out of the way. So here he is next to the NECA's cartoon version of the Krang. Stand, Krang. Okay, I'm just going to have to hold him. Here he is next to another Super 7 figure, the Baxter Stockman. Here he is next to NECA's movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Leo. And here he is next to Super 7's Shredder, which should be the next figure that I review. Oh, what's going on with Shredder's legs?
I can't try.
Here we go.
Daddy, can you help me?
Yeah, I can help you. What do you want to do?
Help you.
All right, so let's get both of these characters out of the way. Let's stand Leo here. Let's put his original version next to him. And let's put the NECA's movie version. I don't have any of the NECA cartoon versions of the Turtles, so I'm really looking forward to that next release that's coming out. So let's remove these two. Let's add in Baxter Stockman. You found a pizza? Let's remove Baxter. Let's add in Shredder, which there appears to be some issues with these legs. Let's remove Shredder. Here he is next to the NECA's cartoon version of the Shredder. Might as well throw in a Krang. All right, now as my son is insisting, all right, slide him over some. Here, hold him. Here is the NYX 2012 version of Mikey. And one more.
Oh, Daddy, he's dead.
He's not dead.
Daddy.
Here's
Daddy,
the 2012
can you help me?
version of Leo. Yes, I can help you. No, you gotta hold it. Hold his head.
My pizza.
All right, there we go.
Where's pizza?
I'll get the pizza. So thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. I hope to see you during the next review.
Daddy,
Say bye.
Bye.